Hi, my name is Michael Kugler, and I'd like to speak to you about the dangers of keyless ignition vehicles. In the early 2000s, automobile manufacturers started to introduce what was called the push-button ignition. What it did, unfortunately, and the auto manufacturers never recognized it, was it took away the ingrained behavior that we all knew, which was if you have the key on you, the car is off. I have noticed that when people leave the cars running in their garage, when you push the button to close the garage door, you can't hear anything. Now, if you had a muscle car, you would be able to hear it still. But the sound of the garage door going down is much louder than the vehicle engine. And so you start putting the garage door down and you go inside the house. And so you don't realize during that time period that the vehicle engine is running because you can't hear it and you have the keys with you. So Ford and GM are the two leading manufacturers in the area of keyless ignitions. And what they did starting in 2012 was they put what's called an automatic shutoff, or sometimes called an automatic timeout, in their vehicles, which meant after a period of time, if the car was in park and not moving, the vehicle engine shut off. And what that did is it prevents people from suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning that is either going to cause serious brain injury or death. Carbon monoxide gas is caused by the burning of fuel, and the longer that the vehicle runs, it becomes an oxygen depleted environment. And that oxygen depleted environment then rapidly creates more carbon monoxide. And so in Florida, most people's homes have the air handler in the garage. And so what happens is that carbon monoxide goes into the air handler and then gets dispersed throughout the house through the air conditioning vents. But it can also, carbon monoxide can go through walls. It can go certainly under doors or through spaces in doors or walls. And over time, you get to levels that are very unsafe. So for instance, 300, 500, 1,000 parts per million of carbon monoxide. And when you get up to those levels, sickness and death is going to occur very, very quickly. So since the early 2000s, National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, it's called NHTSA, has been telling the auto manufacturers about problems that could be associated with these keyless ignitions. And all of the manufacturers, with the exception of Ford and GM, have done nothing to address the issue. And so the only way at this point to make a change in the auto manufacturers is through the civil litigation process, because the more pressure that we can put on them as trial lawyers, the more cases that we can bring to try to make a difference. That's the only way that the auto manufacturers are going to change the way that they do things and create this automatic shutoff so that these keyless ignition vehicles are safe. I would recommend, no matter who you are, no matter what type of vehicle you have or what appliances you have in your home, it's always a good idea to have a carbon monoxide detector in your home, because you never know what could be the source of carbon monoxide. And it's a way for you to help yourself and your family and try to protect yourselves. Just like you have a responsibility to try to protect yourself, auto manufacturers have a responsibility to try to protect their customers. And if there's something that they can do that is economically feasible to protect the safety of consumers, they must do it. And so sometimes your carbon monoxide detector might not work. You might not be able to hear it from where you are. But if you have an automatic shutoff on push-button ignition vehicles, that car shuts off regardless of whether carbon monoxide detectors are working or not.